a.k.a. shit, I have now become the person tasked with keeping hearth and home in order. As a consequence, Lucy became my responsibility, a job I grudgingly accepted, but only with a good deal of griping and a singular lack of grace. All that changed, of course, when the abusive husband from the domestic violence incident got out of jail on bail and came gunning for Mel. Knifing for her, actually, rather than gunning. When the chips were down, Lucy had come racing to Mel's defense at considerable harm to herself. If that isn't enough to turn a guy into a dog lover, I don't know what is. I would have been happy to keep Lucy permanently, but that wasn't in the cards. Mel and I might have fallen for her, but once Lucy met our new granddaughter, Athena, Lucy voted with her paws and made her preferences clear. We might have loved Lucy, but Lucy loved Athena, and that's where she is now, living with Athena and her other grandfather in Jasper, Texas. But by the time we gave up Lucy, Mel and I both knew there was bound to be another dog in our lives sooner or later. When sooner arrived, we took pains to locate another Wolfie. Sarah is a former mommy dog, rescued from a now-shuttered puppy mill outside Palm Springs. Lucy was coal-black. Sarah is a whitish gray, white when she's dry, gray when she's wet. The first time I saw her, I thought I was seeing Lucy's ghost. We had adopted Sarah in early October, but since she'd spent most of her life living in a metal shed, giving birth to one litter of puppies after another, she had no social skills and almost no muscle control in her hindquarters, leaving her rear end so weak that she could barely stand. After arriving in Washington, Sarah had spent 6 weeks at the Academy for Canine Behavior in Woodinville, regaining her physical strength and learning how to be a family dog with some basic command training thrown in on the side. She finally came home to live with us only a couple of weeks earlier, on the Friday after Thanksgiving. As with Lucy, since I'm Sarah's primary caregiver, she's now clearly my dog as opposed to our dog, and her side of the bed happens to be my side of the bed. So that's exactly where she was when I went looking for her. Lucy always bounded up and out the moment my feet hit the floor. Sarah is your basic slug-a-bed and has to be coaxed into rising and shining, especially on cold winter mornings. "Out," I ordered, pointing at the door. Sarah delivered a series of sleepy-eyed blinks before slowly unfurling her very long legs. Once upright, she gave me a floppy-eared shake of her head, as if to voice a personal objection on being rudely awakened, before sauntering reluctantly out of the bedroom. Due to her Southern California roots, Sarah does not like the cold, so I followed along to make sure she didn't take an unexpected detour somewhere along the way. After all, at that very minute, it was cold indeed in our corner of western Washington, even for people who are relatively acclimated to winter weather. 2 days earlier, what meteorologists refer to as a polar vortex had plunged a long knife of frigid weather down through British Columbia and into the United States, with Bellingham right on its westernmost edge. At the same time, what our weather gal calls a pineapple express was rolling in off the Pacific, bringing with it drenching rains all up and down the west coast. The two opposing weather patterns had merged somewhere north of Seattle, resulting in blizzard conditions that had brought our small city to a complete standstill. Mel's in my house on Bayside Road in the city's Fairhaven neighborhood, sits on a bluff overlooking Bellingham Bay. Because we're so close to the water, we're usually in a banana belt situation as far as snow is concerned. Usually, but not this time around. If it hadn't been for the all-wheel drive on Mel's Interceptor, she wouldn't have been able to make it up and down our driveway. My S-Class Mercedes is an older Model 4matic, but when it comes to driving on snow and ice, I'm not especially proficient. And as much as possible, I try to avoid driving and walking in that kind of weather. The previous morning before the snowstorm hit, it had already been icy cold outside. When I sent Sarah out into our frigid backyard to do her thing, I assumed she'd completed the job. That was an error on my part. Sarah evidently likes walking on icy cold ground as much as I do. A lot later in the day, I learned she had avoided freezing her huge but dainty paws by leaving an Irish Wolfhound size gift for me under the roofline of the front porch. Rather than walk around the house to the proper receptacle, I had resorted to the lazy man's shortcut of flushing the by-then frozen pile of doo-doo down the guest room toilet. Standing in the kitchen...